Domestic violence really is one of those things that you should not be judging until you're living that experience. She painted the picture of a happy wife in a happy marriage. If things weren't good, she just didn't leave the house, which may be why so many people thought Jeff and Susan honestly had a perfect little life. But in the summer of 1999, Susan had reached a breaking point. After another beating from her husband, Susan called her sister Cindy for help. So she tells Cindy about the abuse, and Cindy and her husband arrived hours later in a U-Haul, and they helped Susan pack up all of her and Bradley's things, and she got them out of there. But the following morning, Jeff called her, threatening her, and if she didn't pack it all up and come home, he was going to her and Bradley. She feels like she has no choice, and things only get more complicated because Susan got pregnant but then had a miscarriage when Jeff was beating her in the stomach, and she lost the baby. Then in December of 2001, she gets pregnant again, this time with a little girl they named Kaylee, and now Susan has 3 lives to protect. This is all while Jeff lived his life doing whatever he wanted, including dating women. He gave Susan an STI that he had gotten from one of the women he was sleeping with, and with Jeff literally threatening to kill her, Susan comes to the realization, he'll never let me leave peacefully. I will die.
Yep.
So it's either
kill or be.
So on the night of January 13th, 2003, that decision would be made. Jeff came home from his weekly boxing lesson with a look in his eye. Susan knew it all too well. Jeff was high on cocaine. And that's when he started taunting the now 4-year-old Bradley, trying to get him to box with him. Jeff began taking jabs at the little boy's face, eventually hitting him pretty hard on the cheek. And the more Bradley tried to run away and resist the fighting, the more Jeff was badgering him, calling him a sissy.
He was 4?
So Susan removed the children from the situation, putting them on the bed. Okay. But at this point, she was like, I can't. Susan, at her breaking point, went to the bedroom and confronted Jeff. Jeff does not appreciate it. He throws her against their bedroom wall, tells her not to give him any ultimatums. Then he pushed Susan to the bed and began her. Susan closed her eyes. She was scared of what was coming next because this was a really bad fight. And when she opened her eyes, according to her, Jeff is holding a knife. So Susan did the only thing she could think to do at that moment, which she hadn't really done. She fought back. She kicked Jeff. She actually managed to grab the knife from his hands, and she just began stabbing him. She stabbed him in his chest, his neck, his stomach, his legs, his genitals.
Holy crap.
Everywhere on his body.
How many times?
193 wounds on his body. According to Susan, she fully admits, no, something came over me and I couldn't stop.